Imagine a late afternoon, sunbeams slicing through the dense canopy of an old-growth forest. The air is cool, carrying the scent of damp earth and pine. Deep within these woods, away from the manicured lawns and Wi-Fi signals, a teenager named Alex often found his solace. Alex wasn't your typical boisterous teen. He was quiet, observant, drawn to the hidden corners of the world. And it was on one such ordinary afternoon, deep in the quiet heart of those woods, that he encountered something extraordinary. He was tracing the path of a particularly vibrant butterfly when his gaze fell upon it. A sleek, midnight black snake coiled gracefully around the sun-warmed base of an ancient oak. It wasn't moving, its scales shimmering like polished obsidian in the dappled light. Its eyes, unblinking, seemed to hold an ancient wisdom, a depth that captivated Alex instantly. Most people would recoil, but Alex felt an inexplicable pull, a profound curiosity. He knelt slowly, extending a cautious hand. The snake didn't flinch. Its skin felt cool, almost velvety against his fingertips. It was then, in that quiet moment, that Alex made a decision that would unravel the fabric of his reality. He would take it home. He fashioned a makeshift carrier from his discarded hoodie, and the snake, surprisingly docile, slithered in without protest. Back in his room, hidden from his parents' well-meaning but uncomprehending eyes, Alex built a makeshift terrarium. He named the snake Nyx, after the Greek goddess of night, a name that felt fitting for its dark beauty. For the first few days, a strange euphoria enveloped Alex. He spent hours watching Nyx, mesmerized by its silent movements, its elegant coils, the way it seemed to observe him with an almost intelligent gaze. He felt a unique connection, a bond forming with this creature of the wild. He was sure Nyx had chosen him. But then the dreams began. At first, they were vague, unsettling whispers at the edge of his sleep. Dark, shapeless forms moving in shadows, a pervasive sense of dread that clung to him even after he woke. He dismissed them as a side effect of late-night gaming or perhaps a strange diet. Yet with each passing night, the nightmares grew more vivid, more insistent. He found himself walking through endless, suffocating darkness, pursued by something he couldn't see, something that whispered his name in a voice that was both chillingly familiar and utterly alien. He'd wake in a cold sweat, his heart hammering against his ribs, the silence of his room amplifying the terror he'd just experienced. And as the nightmares intensified, so did an uncomfortable realization. They always began or peaked when Nyx was most active. When the snake stirred in its terrarium, a cold knot would tighten in Alex's stomach. He started to notice subtle shifts in Nyx's behavior too. It no longer seemed merely docile. There was a predatory stillness about him, a watchfulness that felt less like observation and more like anticipation. Its eyes, which he once found wise, now seemed to gleam with a hunger he couldn't quite place, but which chilled him to the bone. He felt increasingly drained, as if some vital energy was being siphoned from him during the night. The bond he thought he shared with Nyx began to feel less like companionship and more like a tether. The quiet solace he once found in the snake's presence was replaced by a creeping dread. He felt a growing sense of responsibility, but it was a heavy burden, weighted by the sleepless nights and the pervasive sense of unease. He knew, with a certainty that settled deep in his bones, that he had to let Nyx go. It wasn't a pet. It was something else entirely. It was a mistake. One evening, unable to bear another night of torment, Alex carefully picked up Nyx's terrarium. His hands trembled. He carried it out into the woods, back to the very oak tree where he had found the snake. The moon was a sliver above the tree line, casting long, eerie shadows. With a deep breath, he opened the lid. expecting Nyx to slither out and disappear into the undergrowth, reclaiming its wild freedom. But Nyx did not move. Instead, it slowly, deliberately uncoiled itself. Then, with a chilling swiftness, it launched itself from the terrarium, not towards the freedom of the forest floor, but directly towards Alex. Before he could react, the snake wrapped itself tightly around his right wrist, its scales pressing into his skin, a pressure that felt both constricting and profoundly intimate. Alex froze, his breath catching in his throat. And then a voice. It wasn't a hiss or a whisper, but a voice that echoed not in his ears, but directly in his mind, clear as a bell, cold as the deepest winter. It was ancient, resonant, and utterly terrifying. "I chose you, Alex," the voice slithered through his thoughts. "You thought you found me. You didn't. I chose you. Now feed me something living." The words hung in the moonlit air, a profound horror unfolding in the quiet woods. The pressure on his wrist tightened, an undeniable, chilling claim. The eyes of the black snake, once so captivating, now seemed to glow with an alien hunger, a demand that burrowed into the very core of his being. Alex stood there, paralyzed, the cool night air suddenly feeling suffocating. He understood, with a sickening clarity, that the nightmares were not merely symptoms. They were a preparation, a drawing down of his will, an opening to something far older and more powerful than he could comprehend. And the choice was no longer his. The bond he had once welcomed become an inescapable, terrifying obligation. This story, "It Chose Me, Now I Feed It Living," reminds us that sometimes what we perceive as a discovery is in fact a selection. That some connections are not born of mutual admiration, but of ancient, relentless need. And that the wild, when it reaches into our lives, can sometimes demand a price far greater than we could ever imagine. What are your thoughts on Alex's chilling encounter? Have you ever felt an unexplainable pull towards something or someone that later revealed a darker truth? Share your reflections in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please consider following and subscribing for more tales that explore the mysterious and the unsettling corners of our world. Thank you for listening.